Hey, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Marketing Guides for Small Businesses podcast. Today, I'm joined by Paul, Jen, and Ian, as usual. Hey, everybody. Today, I'm going to talk about something. We're all going to talk about something actually that is, I think we all think is really important, and that is, you know, building a list for your business. Having a list, in many cases for most businesses is maybe one of the single most important things that they can do. And yet, sadly, it seems so daunting for many businesses to be able to build, or even if they are building a list, are they using it effectively or at all? And so, in this episode, we're going to talk about not only clever ways to build your list for email marketing and also text message marketing, but also what do you need to do to actually help you create that list? I mean, it's not just put a form up on your website and say, hey, subscribe, and expect that you're going to get a lot of people doing that. So let's just jump into it. And Jen, I'm going to start with you. Um, Before we really get into building a list, let's take a step back and talk about why lists are so important.
hmm So yeah, the email marketing list. Well, I guess you guys, some of you guys, can talk more about the text messaging. We haven't been so much into that, so yet, anyways, with some of our clients. But we are big into the email newsletters and getting that list happening. It's very important. To have a list and to be sure you're in communication with your list because of many different reasons. So, your list, if you're starting out, it could be clients that you have worked with in the past, clients that you have right now, folks that have expressed interest in the products or services in your business. And it's so important to have the list and then to keep in touch with the list because not everybody's ready to buy when you want them to buy. Everybody's on, their own kind of sales cycle when they're ready. And it's important that you're often communicating with your list. Now, I've heard some folks say, well, you know what, we're doing our posting on social media, or I'm, out speaking all the time. People can get a hold of me that way. But much like ourselves, not everybody is looking at your website or your social media all the time, and different people are attracted to different types of communication. I would have to say that list is very important because although there's many different ways to communicate and keep in touch with our potential clients, our existing clients, um, email is one of those things that you have to get invited in and you appear in the email inbox. And even if the email is not opened, I know we can talk about that a little bit later, but somehow in the inbox, you are registering onto somebody's radar, and that's very important to keep top of mind when you're looking to build your business and grow and maintain your business.
Yeah, I think it's, people need to get out of their own ways. We've talked about this before for other things. Just because you may have an opinion about email and getting spam emails, first of all, nobody likes spam, and we're not advocating that at all.
No.
This is a list that people opt in, and because it's providing value in advance, and so you've just because somebody doesn't read your email doesn't mean, like you said, that you're still not you're registering an awareness. Hey, I'm still out here. Even
Mhm.
if they don't read your email, they still see that you're out there. So yeah, it's super important.
Yeah, if I could add one more thing, I think is a really important reason to cultivate a list is that a lot of businesses pay a lot of money to get in front of people through advertising of some form or another. And it's only through building your own list that you can transfer that relationship into a non-monetary way of reaching out to them. And so it actually puts control into your hands in order to nurture that relationship. So
Yeah.
yeah, I see that all the time that companies are spending on ads, but they're not thinking about like, how do I take this conversation into my own control by gathering information and nurturing and building a list?
Yeah.
You make such a good point there too, because this is actually a great way to be building. You know how they all talk about. There's that famous quote about "Don't build your castle on rented lands" when you're putting so much effort into social media, because that can change at any time, right? If you have the list, you own it. You own the relationship with those customers or those potential customers, and that's where you need to get to for sure.
Yeah. Well, also, Jen, you mentioned social media, and I think a lot of people kind of substituted, hey, social media for email list.
Mm.
And so, okay, so let's just take a look at that. First of all, you don't have control over it, just like we talked about.
Mhm.
Second of all, when you look at typical open rates, they're way higher from an email and like fivefold higher usually with text marketing. If you're lucky, you're reaching what, maybe 8 to 10% of the people who like or follow you on social media. If you're
Yeah.
doing a really good job,
Yeah.
and traditional email open rates with people who've truly opted in and say they want to get your information, usually, with a list that you continue to send to on a regular basis, that's about 20%.
Mhm.
Is kind of the low end that you could expect. That's way better than any performance you're going to get from social.
Absolutely, it is. Yeah.
And then when you weigh that in, what Ian said, about the owning and controlling, I think it's super important. So Ian, let's talk about some online ways to build the lists.
Sure. Yeah. One of the most obvious ways that a lot of people think about this, and it
Can I
actually,
jump in real quick too?
of
I
course
just
you can.
I want to make sure that you kind of focus on tools, not. I don't want to get to the lead magnets yet. We'll talk about the lead magnets in just a second. So just really focus on the tools.
Yeah. And that's good to try to hold me back because it's hard not to talk about those.
I hear you.
One of the things I should, even before going into kind of the tools, is that a lot of businesses think about buying lists, and I thought it would be important to bring that up. We actually don't recommend that a lot. If you're in the B2B world, the lists are much better than B2C. So business to business versus business to consumer. So that's just something to keep in mind. And the thing to keep in mind with buying lists is quality is paramount, and getting quality lists is tough. So it's not for the faint of heart, and you have to do a lot of list hygiene. So meaning cleaning up the list and making sure it's relevant. But really, when we're talking about building a list, you kind of have a few avenues towards that. One is buying the list, and one is asking people to give you their information, right? To exchange their name, their email or their phone for something of value. So in the business, we call it a value exchange, and I think we're going to dig into that a little bit later as well. But it's really important to understand that nobody's just going to give you their information if you're not giving them something that they want. So it's paramount for you as a business to really understand, what is it that people are looking for, and what are they willing to give me in exchange for that? Because it's kind of that, we've talked about this before in other contexts, but it's almost like, you're on your first date and you're asking to marry someone. That's not really appropriate in most cases. And so it's really, at this stage, the business just wants to get the next date. And in order to do that, you just need to get the minimum requirements from the person. Usually that's name and email address. I should also say that there's strategies that a business can do in order to grow their list quality and the quantity of valuable information in there over time. So you might start just by asking for a name and email, but if you're smart and you build your funnel or your nurture sequence appropriately, the next stage, when you offer something of greater value, you might ask for their mobile number, or how many people are in your household, or do you like to golf, or whatever it is, something that's going to allow you to customize your communication a little bit more. So, but you asked Ken very specifically about the tools. I just wanted to preface that because I think it's an important staging ground or framework to understand. So, for sure, your website is where most of your list building activities will happen. like a form on your landing page or within your blog, sign up for our e-newsletter, get our lead magnet, get an evaluation, whatever it is. Online chat is a great way to start a conversation, whether it's RoboChat or Real Chat, but you can start to collect information through there. Pop-up forms, in a good way. We've all seen bad pop-up forms, but good pop-up forms can actually be super helpful. Again, you're giving them something of value, they'll give you their information. Linking, making sure that you're offering the opportunity to get the lead magnet, sign up for your newsletter, whatever it is, in your email signature. That's a great, it's real estate, right? You might as well use it. Social media, Jen talked a bit about that. Things like, certainly you can use social media to drive people to your website. You can talk about, your lead magnet or whatever it is that you're going to exchange for their information. But right within Facebook, there's something called a Facebook lead ad, and some of the other social media channels have this as well, where it's an online form right within the platform, so people don't have to come to your website, and they can actually sign up for your newsletter, your webinar, whatever it is. And the beauty of it is that form is pre-populated by Facebook with the information Facebook has on the person, meaning their name, their email address, and the person looks at it before clicking submit. But it saves some steps, it reduces barriers. But those are just a few that come to mind as far as these are tools that you could use to grow your list. I mean, you could even use offline things like direct mail. Again, getting
hey, you're jumping ahead to Paul.
I'm so sorry. See, Ken has to. It's good. Boundaries are good. I will stop now.
So I do want to elaborate though on the Facebook lead ad. So that is a paid strategy to get people to opt in. The other nice thing about that is it's going to use a real email address, because it is the email address that somebody used when they signed up for Facebook. And so a lot of times, we've all seen it, people will put in bogus email addresses, hoping that they'll still get the, whatever the value is that they're trying to get, without giving you that proper exchange of a real email address. So that's a nice thing, because it does give you quality contact information.
For sure. Yeah.
One thing too is, think about your social media bio links. Most social media properties only really give you one bio link that you can have. So you definitely want to create a page, that you send people to from that bio link. And then on that page, you can actually build out and have calls to action to get people to join lists, through various things that we'll talk a little bit more about. But you definitely want to take advantage of that. There's a tool out there called Linktree. There are a whole host of tools that are out there that will allow you to build these. You don't need those. If you can have a landing page created on your website, that's all you need. Link to it, and then build your own and not pay a subscription. It would be the way I'd recommend. But whatever works. It's more important to get it done than spending a couple of bucks a month for a subscription. So don't let that stop you. That's a real important place. And then also, I think on your social media covers, sometimes you can use that real estate again as kind of a poster when people are on your social media properties to say, okay, now it's not clickable, but they can, if it's a simple URL, then they can go there and subscribe that way. So Paul, now let's get to you. Let's talk about some offline ways to build your list, because I think that this is a huge missed opportunity for most people.
It is a huge missed opportunity, because especially if you have a location where people come into, and that's where this really applies, is that you can have signage, table tents, QR codes. You can put it on your invoices, even billboards. Although I'm not a big fan of billboards, because I tend to ignore them myself, but I guess they do work. But any place if you have a brick and mortar location, you have this space where you can. Not sure what that was. Where you have this space where you can put all these things, links to your website. You can have a QR code where you can ask people to leave a review, and you're right. People don't take advantage of it. Businesses don't take advantage of it. Door hangers. If you're, if you're a service area business, even if you don't have a location where people come into, a lot of service area businesses don't. If you're doing a job in a neighborhood and you're dropping off door hangers, use that. Put your website, your links, your contact information, your QR code, put that on your door hangers. So yeah, the offline aspect, and I think that's a good point, is that we get hung up on the online part of it, and we don't talk about and take advantage of the offline part of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think most businesses don't do a very good job of either online or offline. Another thing is a vehicle wrap. I mean, there's no reason why you can't have a call to action, as part of your vehicle wrap to get people to opt in, especially if you have a long sales cycle. If you're trying to sell them James Hardie siding, that's not a quick decision for most people. And so, they may need to get more information, and they may want to, get that, and see how you might be able to help them solve their problem. And, and in order to do that, you get them on a list, you deliver a lead magnet, and you're off to the races, hopefully. The other thing too is, if you have a brick and mortar business, you can use the physical space of your business. I mean, the way you decorate it, painting the walls. There are so many different things. Don't forget to use the real estate that you're already, you're already paying for it. Try to leverage it and get the most out of it.
Yeah, graphics in your windows.
Yeah, one of the things, that to consider too is, like we're talking kind of in the normal running of your business, but where I see it, often you have so much opportunity for list building, and businesses are really thinking about it, but often not very strategically, is at trade shows, right? You have that you're spending a lot of money to be there. It's an offline event usually,
Right.
but you have an opportunity to build that list. And so, even from ways of, dropping your card in a bowl, which is the old way, to win a prize, to, now you can scan people's cards, or you can offer a lead magnet. But yeah, trade shows are fantastic opportunities to grow your list.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I would challenge everybody watching or listening to this to just pick one of the things that Paul and Ian just talked about today, and implement that as a way to help build your list. So Ian, I'm going to go ahead and jump to you. Oh, okay. There's Jen. So so Jen, we've talked about this. Opt-ins require something of value, and it's really a trade. It's like, I'm willing to give you my email address or my cell phone number. In return, I perceive that you're going to be able to give me something of value. The average statistics are that perceived value needs to be at least 15 to 20 bucks of perceived value. So how do you craft irresistible offers that demonstrate that perceived value? Because, look, everybody gets spam emails, and, I'm telling the world right now, if you send me an email to my business email address trying to sell me business services, and I see that you're sending it from a Gmail or, a free email account, you know what? I'm automatically going to mark you as spam, because that is bullshit. I'm sorry. It's just obnoxious. Be respectful and demonstrate value, and use a real email address, because anybody, and look, I encourage everybody, sorry, I'm going off on a rant here, but I encourage everybody, if getting emails from people, check to see if they're real business domain emails. If they're not, you should ignore them and you should run away, because there may even be malicious intent behind it. So anyway, Jen,
Yes.
let's talk about, how do you create those irresistible offers?
Well, all good points there too. The thing is, just to piggyback on what you were saying as well, I think it's really important that you talk about the frequency that you're going to be mailing people as well, because there's nothing more maddening. If you're mad about those email addresses that come across from Gmail or some non-legitimate domain, the thing that gets me is when there's like 6 emails in one day, or all of a sudden I didn't realize I signed up to a daily email newsletter, which I can do once a month or twice a month, but every single day, I mean, come on. So I think the promise has to be there as well. It's not only necessarily what you will get, either a downloadable lead magnet, it's a checklist, something of immediate value to me, but also too, like what's the frequency of our communication here? I think that's really important as well. One thing, as we talk about text messaging, that's something that us as a vendor haven't supplied to our clients yet, but definitely as a consumer, I've been on the other side of it. And I have to tell you about the text messaging. Even though it's the kind of thing that you can hardly ever ignore a text message that comes into your phone. Frequency and making the timing on that work properly is very important as well. And I'll give you an example. My poor dentist, who is they run a fabulous operation. They're so enthusiastic to be dentists there. I have to tell you, it's lovely. But when it comes to communicating about your appointment, it drives me crazy, because you will go to the appointment, pay for it, make your next appointment, which I'm on every 6 months. So far, no cavities, right? And as soon as I'm leaving the premises, I get a text message for, November 17th, don't forget your next dental appointment. And I'm like, oh, come on. I mean, that's the kind of thing that you want the week ahead, a couple days ahead, maybe the morning of, like, oh, right, I got to go to the dentist, not 6 months in advance, right? So I'm really encouraging that I don't know if it's the proximity, I don't know, I guess I can't find the word, but the frequency and how often are you going to be, inviting yourself into my, my inbox, or inviting yourself into my phone to communicate with me? That has to be negotiated, or at least announced up front as well. So I know your question was more about the value, but there's also this longer term value of my time or value of my attention that you need to not break your promise. How often am I going to hear from you? How often should I expect to hear from you? I think that's really important up front as well.
Yeah. For text messaging, it's really tricky, and it's really delicate. I mean, you have to really think about it. You absolutely do not want to abuse text message marketing, because you'll get. And look, being unsubscribed is a good thing. Because if people are unsubscribing, they're basically telling you in a legitimate, authorized way and being removed from your list, so that they're no longer going to get those communications. And that's the right way to do it. But we can talk more about the text message marketing and kind of strategies, as we get toward the end of this episode. I think it's just critical, if you're trying to put together something to help you build your list, you've got to put yourself in your ideal customer's shoes and say, what are they going to see that's valuable to them? And what's a worthwhile trade for them to give up an email address in an age where there's so much, spam email and abuse of emails? What is going to be willing for them to give up that information? So, and I think, part of what you do is you talk about, the transformation, what they're going to get after, when they read this, or when they watch this webinar, or they sign up for this demo. Here's what you're going to get, in return for that, and be very clear about it.
Hey, one thing, if I can jump in, we've touched on it but haven't really directly addressed it, is the unsubscribe link. And Ken, you just mentioned that. You send me an email without an unsubscribe link, it will get marked as spam. So,
you.
yes, but
Yeah.
but I see it all the time. Like,
Right.
you were talking about the emails from the free, whether it's Gmail or Microsoft, whatever. But I get a lot of emails that don't have unsubscribe links. It's like, I think that's bordering on illegal, but
It is in some countries. Canada,
it's
it's
not.
illegal.
It's not
Some
in the
states.
U.S. It's not in the U.S. if it's a business email from a business to a business.
right. But still, if I can't unsubscribe from your email with a click, and I don't want to receive the emails anymore, or it's something I'm pretty sure I didn't sign up for,
Yeah.
I'm going to mark it as spam.
Yeah, definitely. So I encourage everybody to check the senders. Look at the details. If you see an email come across that you don't recognize, it could be a legitimate source. And if it is, if it comes from a business domain, it could be, worth your time. But if it's just coming from a free Gmail, Hotmail, AOL, you name it, any of these free email tools, be suspicious of it and be careful with those.
And hey, Ken, before you move on, I feel compelled to give a public service announcement to
Right.
dentists that use their practice management systems or their marketing add-ons the way Jen was talking about. I actually see that all the time with our clients and prospects who move to new systems. The out-of-the-box practice management texting is absolutely thoughtless. It's you really have to go in and scrutinize it as if you're a patient and think about, because Jen, my personal dentist, who is also a client, which creates a good feedback loop for us sometimes in relation to this, when they upgraded to a new system, I was getting text messages as I was walking out, just like you, and I'm like, what the heck, and then I'm getting an email at the same time, and it was this very horrible patient experience. And so I think, tools are fantastic when they're used with the patient or the customer in mind. But they, you really have to scrutinize it and don't just take it out of the box. Be thoughtful about it.
Yeah.
Send it to yourself and see what it feels like.
Yeah, absolutely.
Test everything.
Yeah.
Which most people don't.
All right, Ian, I'm going to let you talk about lead magnets now. So
Finally.
what kind of lead magnets typically work well for most small businesses?
Yeah, I mean, they're kind of all over the board. And again, it depends on your industry, whether you're business to business and consumer, the length of your buying cycle for your customers. There's lots and lots of options. Remember, it's all about the person on the other end, the receiving end, what's valuable to them. And I think we're going to get into a little bit more about kind of the stages or the marketing hourglass framework later on. But the idea should be like, where are they in their buying decision? What is most valuable to them at that time? And usually think about it as, I need to increase the value of what I'm offering over time. So when I first start communicating with somebody, it might be like a checklist. Checklists are super hot, or a listicle as they're called, other things like that, cheat sheets, maybe an offer, but things that are super easy to consume. They're quick hits. They prove value to the person. But then things like ebooks, quizzes are very popular. They don't have to be called a quiz. Sometimes that's appropriate, sometimes it's not. But it's really, answer these questions. We'll give you either, here's what everybody else is thinking as a whole, or here's an assessment of what you've given us, and a grade or something like that. Demos. If your software tool, or it could almost be anything. If there's an experience involved, some sort of demo, could even be like an online walkthrough of something. Mini courses, that's a really hot one, and usually that's a higher value exchange. Unless your business is offering paid courses, you might offer a free mini course, right? free consultations, free evaluations. I mean, lead magnets are only limited by your imagination and your understanding of what your ideal customer wants at the time, at the stage of their buying journey, so that you can give them, really, you're equipping them with something of value to help them move through become an informed buyer, right?
Yeah. I want to give a shout out to an episode that Jen did a couple of weeks ago, talking about white papers. That's another great lead magnet, case studies, things like that. Another interesting one that I thought about as I was, kind of putting this together is a challenge. So like a 10-day challenge. Sign up and you'll get an email for the next 10 days with a challenge each and every day. These are usually related to fitness or dietary related things, personal,
or maybe a personal coach, right?
Yeah,
or a business coach.
Yeah, so stuff like that. So those are great because and so as you folks who are watching or listening, kind of jot down those ideas, brainstorm, see what you can come up with around those things, because those tend to be the things that work best across the world of small businesses that we're working with. Jen, I don't know if you work with different types of businesses and we do. Anything else that jumps to your mind?
Let's see here. And not you've caught me off guard.
So, yeah, sorry.
I'm sorry, I wasn't ready for that one.
What do you guys, I'm just throwing this out as a question because I see it occasionally, usually on the business to business side, where somehow I'm on somebody's list, right? They probably purchased it. And they're using a $25 Starbucks card to then move me to a conversation. For me, that never works. But I'm curious if you guys have seen that.
Tell me, why does that not work for you?
You know what?
Because I don't drink coffee.
Because I don't drink coffee.
I do.
He only drinks
lots
the
of
Bay
coffee.
Perry spotted dog coffee.
That's right.
That's
Good-
the right
good
place
plug.
on dog coffee, though.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
Ray.
it's a good question, Jen. I usually it's because the business who's sending it to me, I have no interest whatsoever in what they're offering. Because if it was something I was already interested in and somebody offered me a Starbucks card, I would probably give them some time. But right now my time's at a premium, and so $25 doesn't cut it, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Have you taken anyone up on that offer before?
Oh yeah.
No, I haven't. I didn't have the reaction to it that you do, though. But and for me, and just thinking about it, it was either it wasn't a match, or it wasn't a match, or it wasn't ready for the next step yet. You know what I mean? So yeah.
But making that offer, it's not the right time for you right now. That
Mhm.
doesn't mean that you don't want to keep following up and maybe
That's-
sending that back out as a potential offer to get somebody to take that next step and get into your sales funnel. So
And Ken, you were nodding. Which ones have worked with you?
oh yeah,
So all our listeners can send Ken some.
yeah.
From a legit
Amazon gift cards.
Amazon.
Starbucks.
And what's it exchanging for? Like a 10-minute conversation, or?
Or even longer. I mean, I've even had them up to $150.
Yeah.
Wow. And so, part of our jobs is to consume information, to find ways to solve marketing problems for businesses, right? So marketers tend to use the paid tactics maybe a little bit more aggressive than some of the other businesses, or like those gift cards. And so sometimes there are opportunities where you get that gift card and it's like, look, I don't know anything about that really. Maybe I need to learn a little bit about it, because I may not do anything with it, but I need to know enough to advise my clients, if that's going to be a good type of a solution for them. And so would I make it a priority without a paid gift card? Maybe, maybe not. It definitely has helped at times get me over the finish line for sure.
That's very
And just so
interesting.
everybody
Where-
knows, $150 might work for me. So.
Oh yeah, okay, that's your threshold. Where that has worked, and I know this is like in another area of the funnel, but if I am a client of a service and they want my opinion or they want just 10 minutes of my time, yeah, like an Amazon gift card, that kind of thing, sure,
Yeah.
I'll do that value exchange. And make it worth their while, right? For sure. But those that just hey, do a survey, or hey, can we hop on the call? And it's just like it doesn't seem that they understand both, like Ian said, the value of your time. But I mean, we're all on this call running a small business. There's about 42 other things we should be doing besides giving someone our opinion. You know what I mean? So that your time has to be acknowledged for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, my last rabbit trail on this topic. What about contests? What about being entered into a really
I
rich
hate
contest?
contests. I hate
Trip to
contests.
Alaska.
I know. I'm like the weirdest on that. Contests don't work on me at all. Not interested. Nope.
I think it depends. I mean, obviously, those need to line up with who your ideal clients are, and if it's something that they're going to see potentially of value, then those might work. But yeah, I mean, for me, those rarely work.
Yep.
So.
Well,
Okay.
what's funny about those, or the contests or that kind of thing? We see those a lot from the banks trying to get new customers, or cell phone companies, right? Trying to get new customers. But I'm like, well, where's my 20 years with my cell phone provider being rewarded, right? Or my 25 years with my bank being rewarded? Like, that's the kind of thing where it kind of it backfires a little bit on me. I'm like, where's my iPad?
True.
Customer appreciation.
Yeah. Paul, let's talk about the funnel. So how does a sales funnel help you build and grow your list? And how can you create a high converting sales funnel opt-in?
Well, I tend to look at sales funnel. It can help grow your list. I tend to look at the sales funnel. I think it works better if you have something with a longer sales cycle, as opposed to something people are going to purchase immediately. But it helps keep you top of mind, definitely. But it has to be informative. People don't want to constantly be bombarded with buy this now. They don't want to be bombarded with these sales pitches. So it has to be informative, and it's going to address your product or service, but it's about solving a problem and how does this make your life better, or what's the benefit for you? How is it going to improve your life, your situation, whatever. But you have to have a sales funnel this day and age, because as we talked about, people are constantly bombarded with different emails and marketing and advertisements. So having a sales funnel, and you can't abuse it, but having a sales funnel keeps you top of mind, like, so especially if it's something with a longer sales cycle, people are going to be looking around. If you have an expensive product, you've mentioned James Hardie siding. If you have or a bathroom remodel or a kitchen remodel, those are $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 projects, and people are going to be shopping around, and you have to convince them that you are the best option. And to me, that's really where the sales funnel comes into play and can really benefit you. If I'm buying a $5 widget, you don't need I'm either going to buy it or I'm not. You don't need a sales funnel for that, in my opinion. But for a longer sales cycle, a more expensive product, and it's also not just a sales funnel. It's going back to the email newsletters. It's staying top of mind, keeping your product, your service, your business in front of people, especially for repeat business.
Yeah, I mean, I can even see where, like a restaurant that, like even a new restaurant, people may not be ready to go in there and try it yet, but they may be willing to download something to get, it could be an offer that gets them to sign up for being on your email list. It could be, getting a recipe or something like that, that kind of, and that way it gives you permission to kind of keep, staying top of mind with them, but still putting together a specific email nurture series to get them to come in and buy sooner rather than later, than just drop them into a regular weekly newsletter or once a month newsletter kind of a thing. I still think that works really well, and so uh, part of a sales funnel is going to include that email, that 5 to 7 email nurture series to get people from the time they say, okay, I have an interest, to accelerate, the sales process to the extent that you can. I mean, that's one of the tools that I think is most effective for us in many ways, to help guide that buyer's journey and accelerate it. We don't control it anymore, but we can guide it and make it work a little bit better. And we know the kind of information that people are looking for: overcoming objections. They want to see what other people's experiences are. They want to understand the transformation that they're going to experience. Why are you different? How do you stand out from other competitors that are out there? Those are the kinds of things that you put together in this email nurture that follows up. And it's overall, the sales funnel is the landing page, the opt-in, the asset that they want to claim, like, all the ones that Ian talked about. And then you need to put them into, an email nurture series, and then you drop them in and into some kind of a long-term nurture series. I think is really the best strategy out there.
Have you guys seen the secret deal type emails or texts from usually it's restaurants where they're just trying to speed up your repeat?
Yeah.
I've seen those work really, really well, where you're like a secret member basically of their hidden society of food lovers, and they send you something, and it might even be the day of, like, come in today, use this secret code word, and you get a free appetizer or something. Where it's entirely unique to you as a return customer, I see those can be really, really powerful. And for the business, right, you're getting a return customer much faster than you might otherwise have.
Yeah. And that's really where I think text message marketing works really well. I mean, I think text message marketing generally needs to leverage an offer, to, either a discount, or you buy this, but you get this added on top of it, where you're not discounting, but you're adding extra stuff on top of it. Text messaging, I think it works much better that way. But again, you never want to abuse it. You only want to do it maybe once a week. And again, it's great to stay top of mind. Periodically, you can remind people, hey, it's Memorial Day weekend. It's a great day to come in and grab a burger. You're not offering a discount. You're just saying, oh yeah, man, I'm ready to get this weekend started. Okay. Yeah, I could eat a burger right now. No worries. And so, just reminding people occasionally, but usually a lot of the texts, I think text more than email probably should be offer driven more to get those to work effectively. And again, if you're only doing it once a week and it's not, it's like, what, I'm a vegetarian, I don't eat burgers, I'll just ignore that. But if I still like the restaurant, I'm still interested in other things.
Well, maybe they have a veggie burger.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
But there was a couple points made there, and I don't know if we really realize is that there's two different things where you have the longer sales cycle, where the nurture and the funnel really helps, but then you have on the other side where it's like restaurants are a great example. It's a high repeat type of thing.
Yeah.
And that requires two different strategies.
Yeah. Absolutely. But the other thing too is, I think we've talked about this before. I know, Paul, you and I talk about this all the time. It's like, we subscribe to a lot of emails. Do I read 90% of the emails that I get from the people that I subscribe to?
Nope.
No. But if the subject line catches my attention and it's like, oh, we're going to be talking about how you can leverage Google local services ads to increase your bookings. Okay, I'm going to read that because right now that's a topic that's really important to me and to my clients. But I may have ignored the last 10 emails that I got from that company, but I know that eventually they're going to give me something of value, or maybe I'll set it aside and say, you know what, I'm going to get back and read this later. So you want to continue to send emails, even if people aren't reading them, because you will eventually get people to say, you know what, I need to know about this now. I'm going to open this email.
Mhm.
Again, if they don't want to get them, they're going to unsubscribe.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing. But if you continue to add value, even if it's not contextually the right value at the right time for somebody, still getting into a regular rhythm of sending emails. The other important thing is it keeps your list clean and pure.
Mm.
If you don't send emails for 6 months, emails go bad really fast. People change jobs, they change internet service providers. I mean, there's a whole host of things that can generate, or cell phone carriers, or a whole host of things that cause emails to go bad very quickly. So you need to keep sending on a fairly regular basis to keep your list clean. Jen, let's talk about how do you drive traffic to your lead magnets?
Your lead magnets. Okay, so for folks that are listening, sometimes we use too much marketing nomenclature. You know what? Lead magnet. So that's the thing, or that's your offer. That's your I guess your value in exchange for the email address. So you're doing that kind of trade. And in the industry, we call that your lead magnet, right? You want to get the leads. It's hopefully a magnet drawing folks in. So how do you drive traffic to the lead magnet? So you've got your downloadable ebook, you've got your webinar, you've got your checklist. So how do you make people know about that offer so that you can grow your list? So you can do things with it. You can put it out on social media, right? You can do a podcast like this. You can do an event. You can be offline in real life doing a speaking gig or a trade show presentation, something like that, where then you can say out into the audience, I've talked about these 6 things. If you want the checklist, exchange your email address for it, and we can get that to you. That's another good way. I know you talked a lot about this, Ken, that you could just say, text, 3674, and we'll get that right to you. So that can be a good thing to do there. But the lead magnet, I want you to think about, sometimes you need to put some promotion, some money behind it in order to drive the traffic, in order to drive the interest to it, and let folks know that it's there for the taking. So that's what I would recommend.
Yeah. So for example, right now, I'm board president of the Modern American Dance Company, and we have performances tonight and tomorrow. And so we're going to use the people who attend the event. We know the dates we're performing, but we don't know the programs that we're doing. Those aren't quite settled yet. And so, people can text 2223 for the 22-23 season to the phone number for the business. So 2223 to the phone number, and then they're going to be put on a list to get notifications when we have our new dancers officially on board. The specifics of the programs, what pieces and performances and themes are the concerts going to be taking, where are they going to be held, what are the ticket prices, early ticket discounts, things like that. And so you don't always have to have something that you're giving away, but you have to have that value proposition, because if people like the performance, they're going to be like, oh, I want to know what these guys are doing next year. Mm-hmm. And so, use opportunities like that. I think it's huge, and so many missed opportunities. So.
Well, just on the text message, I do have to let you know, if you're doing a promotion that is more than just local, well, Ian and I are sitting here in Canada, and Canada always gets ignored. So if you're listening to a podcast, whatnot in North America, text it, blah, 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 to just make sure that you understand what carriers are available to have that campaign go on. So
yeah, absolutely. Great point. Yeah, you've got to know your audience. You've got to know where they're located and how you can deliver, what they're asking for sure.
Yeah.
Ian, let's see here. You've got an opt-in, but it doesn't mean that they're going to become a customer, patient, client, or whatever. So we've talked a little bit about this, but I'd just like to hear your thoughts on how do you move people through that buyer's journey to get them to the point where they're ready to take that try offer or even make the purchase.
Yeah, yeah. I think somebody mentioned this already, but just in case they haven't, if you have a list, it means nothing. You have to use your list. So I've actually seen companies that work really hard to get a list and then they never use it. Like you were talking about, only emailing every 6 months, Ken. Like
Yeah.
you got to use your list in order to stay top of mind and to see any kind of impact. But I thought it would be really helpful just to bring up again the marketing hourglass. I think it's actually the perfect framework for thinking about, okay, I have somebody in the know phase. They've just come to know about us as a dentist, a restaurant, a plumber, whatever it is, right? A software company. How do I then move them through the phases of know, like, trust, try, buy, repeat, and refer, which is the marketing hourglass. So it's like the sales funnel, but it doesn't doesn't forget the customer once the sale is done. And it looks at that all important repeat and refer, because those are really vital, first of all, to the success of the business, but also to, like, it's an ongoing relationship. You don't just cut off the relationship with this customer if they become a customer, right? You have to remember that. So it's a really great framework for thinking about those phases that somebody, and it is just a framework, right? You talked about people choosing their own adventure, but it is a framework for a business to say, okay, for a person become a patient in my dental clinic, they need to know about us. Obviously, they need to like us. For some reason, they need to like us. Then they need to trust us. Then they need to try something from us. It might even be a virtual thing, but then they can buy from us. They can become a patient. And so as you're thinking about, okay, look at that customer, that potential customer, or look at your existing customers and how they move from stage to stage to stage, and the information that they need, or the tools they need, or the incentives they need to move from a no to a like to a trust to a try to a buy. That's really important, because then you can turn it around as the business. First, you're looking at it from the customer's perspective, but then you're turning it around going, okay, we have these resources and tools at our disposal. How are we going to effectively, first of all, get that list, but then nurture them? And it is a nurturing process. It's a relationship. And I think that's forgotten a lot in the digital world, that yes, they're a contact card in your CRM system, but they're a real person with real needs and real desires, and you as a business can serve them and serve them well. And so it's about, how do you naturally move them through that process? And that's really, I think that's kind of the gold in all of this, is when you can effectively think about them that way and move them through those stages, then that's where you'll start to reap really great rewards, and you'll continue to create this compounding effect of a growing customer list and growing fans of your business. But just as an example, like, a person knows about you. They've started to like what they're hearing about you. You need to provide them with things, say, at the trust stage, so that they'll trust you, right? Are you really who you say you are? Do you have a video that, creates the like, but then also the trust? Can you offer them a guide at that time as a lead magnet that, you're providing them with information of how to find the best service for them, right? So we see that all the time with dentists or remodelers, where, a guide to remodeling your home. Like, if you're thinking about remodeling your home, why would you not get a free guide that brings you? That's building a lot of trust, right? Customer reviews, all of these different things as a business can be used effectively and strategically through that buyer's journey, so that you're moving people along really effectively. Jen, case studies are a great example, especially from a B2B side, right? you're building trust there. You're showing how you've actually effectively done what that person is looking for in it with another business. And so you're creating trust, and it's almost like a try, because they're wearing you as well, going, okay, this is how they perform that service for a similar business as us.
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned it, with the repeat and the refer. The list gives you the ability to step on the gas pedal and accelerate new business in a way that you almost never really have any other way, because you've already built the know, like, and trust. And so if you need to step on the gas pedal and rev up, your business and get more business coming in on a short basis, that's ultimately, really, there's nothing more powerful than that. And you can't do that without a list. Speaking of which, I want to make sure we talk about, so many businesses have never even put together a list, but they have a list. They just don't have it organized in a usable way. They've got emails in their email in their email, just business email system, or personal email if they don't even have a business email. They've got email addresses and cell phones maybe in their QuickBooks. They've got on invoices where people maybe have written out information, but they never got put in digitally anywhere. Maybe some CRMs that they have, depending on the nature of the business, maybe some operational systems. It's really important to take time to pull all that information together and put it into a usable format. So, not only we've talked a lot about, how do you get new people into your list, but don't forget about anybody who's ever been a customer of yours probably should be on a list of yours. Paul, let's kind of wrap this up just by talking a little bit more about text message marketing. Can you talk a little bit about the big differences you see? I mean, I already mentioned, I think offers are a really critical component for text message marketing. But what else do you see in terms of text versus email in regard to the differences, and maybe how you can leverage those?
Well, yeah, text messaging it's a different format, and yeah, I think it's offer driven is a big part of that, as opposed to, say, an email newsletter. Sure, you can have an offer in an email newsletter, but that really needs to be more informational based. How your product or service helps people, as opposed to an offer, and one of the biggest reasons for that is that text has much higher open and response rates than emails, because we've talked about this. I get a lot of emails. Everybody does. I've signed up for different newsletters, and half the time I don't open them. But a text message, it pops up. You almost don't have to open it. It just pops up on your phone, and it gets your attention. And sure, you can choose to ignore it. I ignore a lot of things, but
I can attest to that.
But the open and response rates for text messages or text messaging is much higher, and that's why your offers are going to work better in that text message format. So, and I think it also goes back to something you just said, Ken, is that you have to organize your list. You have to get it in one place. Any business that has been around for a while, if you go back, historically, having a domain-based email wasn't an issue 15 years ago. It just didn't matter that much. So they'll have some contacts in their personal email, and they'll have some contacts in their business email. They'll have it in their invoicing system, QuickBooks, whatever it is. They'll have it in, if they're using a CRM, and it's not organized into one place, and that you have to get that organized. And yeah, it can be a pain in the ass. It can take some time, but you have to get that organized and get that into one system. And it goes back to efficiency and productivity and having everything in one place, so you can be organized and be efficient and do these things properly. But yeah, they are two different formats, two different purposes. And Yeah, I
Yeah,
think from,
even the link click-through rates on texts are almost 50%.
yeah,
If they're coming from a trusted source where people have opted in. I mean, it's really powerful. You know, one of the things that just to wrap this up, I know we're coming up on the hour. Maybe we'll just creep over it just a little bit here, but um, gamification, I think, is pretty interesting as a strategy to grow your list. You know, we've got text message marketing platform that will allow you to use the gamification and a reward system, where you know each link that's created for every subscriber is truly unique to them, so that you can track the amount of referrals that they're getting in terms of helping you grow your list. In return, you're giving them some incentives, you know, to do so. You know, and you give them a variety of different ways to do that. You could certainly do that, you know, with email as well. And I think, you know, in some cases, gamifying the process to make it a game and make it fun and get the competitive juices flowing with people to say, you know what, I want to get this extra discount, or I want to get this T-shirt or this freebie. Sure, I'm willing to, you know, to help turn people on to really good deals, or learn more about valuable information. What do you guys think about that?
I think it's a neat thing, actually. Personally, when I was first introduced to some gamification, I didn't really see the appeal. To be quite honest, this is a few years ago. But having been introduced to and been in different systems where either the end result or progress meant a lot to me, having it attached to a game, I've like 180'd on that opinion, and I can see how. Both rewarding, satisfying, you know, you get bragging rights, the whole bit. And personally, so I'm just thinking of something most recently. So I'm in Duolingo, learning a new language, and
Way to go.
the little thing that they have set up, I mean, it's so neat. It really is. It's so neat, you know, when you fail, when you do good, when you get almost there, and whatnot. So absolutely, I think it's a neat thing, and if it can be tied to something that's important to you, whether it's in your business or in your personal life, yeah, I'm converted to that.
All right, cool.
Yeah, yeah. I just this isn't actually an answer to your question, but it was something I was thinking about, Ken, as we've been going through this, and we haven't really touched on it, but I think it's an important addition to this. Is we've talked a lot about kind of the list, the lead magnets, everything like that. The funnel, the hourglass. A business should have a plan, right? And they should have a plan for how they're going to get their list, what they're going to do with their list after, how it's going to effectively move people through their decision making, and that's really, really important. And that sometimes seems really, really large to a business, even the technology that you guys were talking about. So don't be scared to talk to your marketing agency or a marketing agency about how they can help with this. It sounds, you know, deeply self-serving to say that, you know, as a marketer, but that's our superpowers on this call, right? We all do this every day, all day, and we're here to serve our clients. And I think sometimes people feel they have to do it all on their own. And so that's just an encouragement to, you know, even have a conversation and seek help, and that you might have your mind blown about what can be done to help you.
Yeah, cool.
well, this isn't really an answer to the gamification question, but something that I think we've kind of touched on, skirted around, haven't really addressed directly, is you have to have, goes back to building your list. And it's amazing how many small businesses don't either have a CRM or don't effectively use it. You have to have a way, if someone fills out a form on your website, that puts that contact into your CRM. You have to have that, because if you don't, you're getting these contacts on your website. You may get you probably get a notification, and someone in the office follows up, but it's not put into your CRM. So you've just lost a huge opportunity there. And it happens all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Well, we've gone long today, but I love this topic. I mean, this is one of my all-time favorite things to talk about, because I think it is fundamentally a huge game changer for so many businesses. But we're going to wrap up because we've gone long. Thanks everybody for watching and listening to us talk about this topic. Ian, Jen, Paul, thank you. If you like this episode or any of our episodes, please share it and let other folks know. And we'd love to hear your feedback. So check us out on all your favorite podcast locations as well. Thanks everybody. Have a great week.